Welcome to another Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a topic that resonates with absolutely everyone: building true, unshakable self-confidence. But listen, we aren't just going to look at some cliché, generic checklist of things to do. Based on the fantastic insights from author Lori Milner, we're going to walk through a real, structured transformation. We're going to fundamentally shift how you view confidence, moving all the way from internal mindsets right down to external actions. Okay, let's dive into this. And I really want to challenge our preconceived notions right out of the gate here. We usually think confidence means having all the answers, right? Like you know exactly how everything is going to play out before you even start. But as this brilliant quote from Mel Robbins points out, confidence is absolutely not about knowing everything. It is simply the willingness to try. It's taking that very first step when the outcome is completely up in the air. And building right on that, author Lori Milner offers her own incredibly powerful definition. She frames true confidence as an internal state of being. It's that deep, grounded feeling of being totally comfortable in your own skin and, maybe most importantly, giving yourself the permission to actually be seen by the world. Flaws and the whole shebang. It's really less about having a loud roar in the room and more about just having a quiet, solid certainty.
So to get you to that grounded certainty, we'll follow a clear roadmap today. We're going to cover 6 phases: understanding the true meaning of confidence, embracing discomfort, mastering self-validation, taking action, keeping your promises, and finally, discovering your very best version.
Starting us off with Phase 1, the true meaning of confidence. Take a second to ask yourself, what does confidence actually mean to you? Is it a feeling, an action, or maybe some goal you feel like you haven't reached yet?
That brings us right into Phase 2. Embrace discomfort and courage. This is where the internal shift really happens.
We kind of have this habit of treating fear like a giant stop sign. But discomfort isn't a red light at all. It is literally your entry ticket to true confidence. Lori Milner shares a fantastic little story about this. When she first started out as a writer, she felt like a complete and total imposter. The discomfort was just overwhelming for her. She kept asking herself, who am I to write? Like, what gives me the right? But instead of throwing in the towel, she leaned on consistency. She kept writing, kept publishing, just pushing right through that heavy imposter syndrome. And eventually, something magical happened. A task that used to take her a full week started taking just a few hours. Through repetition, she got braver. Now, she hits publish without a second thought. She had to embrace the discomfort of being a beginner first.
So the crucial point is, you have to develop what we can call your courage muscle. And just like training your legs at the gym, that initial burn eventually fades and is replaced by real strength and endurance. But to get that strength, you got to show up. As this famous quote highlights, you must show up to the script, show up to your study desk, show up to the gym. You just stack up these micro wins, proving to yourself that you can actually do it. You don't need full confidence to start. You just need a tiny teaspoon of courage to show up.
All right, Phase 3, self-validation and positive thoughts. Let's look at how we manage what's going on inside our heads. And this brilliantly illustrates how we actually get our validation. Think about it. Are you like a phone battery, desperately searching around for an external power source, always waiting for someone else's praise or recognition just to feel good? Or are you a solar battery? Because a solar battery charges itself. Now sure, recognition from other people is a really nice bonus, but if you self-validate, you build up this massive reserve of power. That way, even on the cloudy days when absolutely nobody is clapping for you, you still have enough energy to power your whole house. But let's be real, charging that internal battery is incredibly difficult if your own mind is hostile territory. This mental anguish happens when we're dominated by our inner critic. We spend so much time alone in our own heads, and for a lot of us, that space is occupied by a really cruel voice that just constantly points out every single flaw and mistake. We have to actively evict that cruel inner critic and replace it with a kind inner coach. Just imagine the difference there. Instead of a tyrant, your inner coach is a friend. It's someone who actually laughs with you when you make a clumsy mistake and genuinely celebrates your micro wins. Your mind should literally be a place you enjoy visiting. Cultivating that kind inner coach, though, requires self-awareness. And as Milner points out, self-compassion is the true foundation of confidence here. To build this better inner world, you have to find some stillness. Practices like meditation, mindfulness, yoga, or honestly just finding a quiet moment of solitude, they act like a compass. They help you tune out all that noise and develop a genuinely caring attitude toward yourself.
Moving into Phase 4, action is the ultimate key. We're shifting from the internal to the external now, because action cures fear. So if action is the cure, then procrastination is the poison.
It is absolute kryptonite to your confidence. Inaction acts just like a ball and chain. When you have a great intention, but you just fail to start, it slowly drains your internal battery. And even worse, procrastinating gives that cruel inner critic we just talked about the exact ammunition it needs to validate all its harsh comments about you.
The only way to break that chain and defeat this kryptonite is urgency. You just have to take action now. Not someday, not maybe next week, but right now. Remember Mel Robbins' definition from earlier? Starting right this second is the ultimate proof of your willingness to try.
Let's move to and see how this builds. Because if taking action right now sounds totally overwhelming, the secret is breaking massive goals down into bite-sized micro-actions. You don't need to write the whole presentation. Literally just focus on the first slide. You don't need to do a grueling 30-minute workout. Just commit to 3 lunges. You don't have to meditate for an hour. Take one single mindful breath. Shrink the task down until procrastination is basically impossible.
Phase 5. Keeping promises to yourself. This is all about maintenance and building that deep self-trust.
Taking action once is great, for sure, but maintaining true confidence requires deep self-trust, and that means keeping your promises. Think about it. If you tell a friend you'll meet them for coffee, you show up, right? But how often do you schedule a walk for yourself or block out time to study and then just blow it off because you put everyone else's needs above your own? Highly confident people prioritize their tasks. They show up for their scheduled time and they don't feel guilty about it because they know it's necessary. By showing up for the time you book for yourself, you prove to yourself that you are trustworthy and you are worthy of your own time.
And that brings us to our climax, Phase 6, discover your best version. Let's look directly at your own life experiences.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is confidence isn't something you have to invent from thin air. It's actually a state you can generate on demand by just looking at your own history. I want you to ask yourself right now, who am I at my best? Try to recall a specific time in your life, maybe back at university, in your 20s, or right after you crushed a specific presentation, when you felt the most focused, powerful, and truly confident. You see, you already have the proof of your capability.
To harness that past power, Lori Miller leaves us with these specific, honestly quite provocative homework questions to help you reverse engineer your confidence. Look back at that moment when you were at your best and ask yourself, what were you thinking? How were you speaking to yourself? What specific activities created that exact state? Were you highly structured? Did you have a clear goal you were really passionate about? You know, as the saying goes, success leaves clues. So, review your clues. Identify just one new micro-action you can take today and start generating the confidence to show up as your absolute best self. So, what's your first micro-action going to be?